Welcome back to the channel of truth, trust, and transparency. Now, I am not always right 100% of the time, but when I am, it's a good feeling. Now, what's really funny is that if we go back a few short weeks ago, I reviewed an on-market deal in Corio, not too sure how to say it. Don't blast me because I've got it wrong, but I reviewed an on-market deal and I picked up some things just purely from a desktop point of view. And what's actually really interesting about this is I received a message the other day from it, and I wanted to read it out to you guys and share the lessons and learnings from this, how my gut assumptions were correct, and also how funny it is that this property actually got snapped up way above market price by a buyer's agent. So let's jump straight into this one, shall we? Now, to jog your memory, it was this particular address here, 47 Grenoble Parade, Corio, Victoria. Don't kill me on the pronunciation. But one thing that I always do, and if you're watching this, this is a little bit of a tip for you guys to implement at home on any property that you're looking at, is I always obviously have a look at on Google Maps, but using Google Maps, you can also go back and see in time the previous or older versions in Google Maps of that particular place. So let me show you what I picked up on Google Maps if you're just new here and you didn't watch that deal. So this is Google Maps here. What I noticed when I was looking on Google Maps, and I put a little short up as well on social media, is I noticed on the chimney there was large structural cracking on the chimney, right? On Google Maps, that's in 2023. A little hint too, if you want, guys, you can once you've got your address in, and you go back here, you'll see April 2023 was the last time this had Google Maps. Then you can click see more dates. When you do that, you can go back and see what the property was like all these years ago, and that's just sometimes a really good way to pick up any changes, between 2023 and 2015 is a little bit too far. But if there's one every few years, you can just sort of, maybe pick up a few things. This is one thing I picked up. So as you can see, major structural cracks. However, when you go back to the listing on realestate.com, if you go back to the listing here, you'll notice that there is what appears to be some sort of plywood, and I can see sort of like the plywood kind of patterns here. It looks like it's potentially plywood. I'd have to have a look, but it looks like it's just been propped up against the chimney. And there was a few other things, but my comments on this was it looks like there's some structural issues with that. Now, I'll read you out the messages from this member of my community, my audience. He just said one thing he also picked up. He goes, using the Google Maps to your advantage is a credible little hack. So some people don't know about that. There you go. I share that with you guys. He said, by the way, the property had structural damage, which lines up with your review. And then he said, it sold for $490,000 with major structural issues. This was from the building and pest inspection. He goes, I bought a similar property a few streets away only a month ago for $400,000. What we went on to discuss was how that had been bought. The real estate agent said that had been bought by a buyer's agent who had overpaid. So, I mean, I'm not following this market too in depth. However, it made me wonder. And it wasn't until I went and had a look at what had been sold in the last 12 months and I realized, can't see that property sold off market, but 400 grand. Okay, needing a bit of a reno, but 400 grand. March 2025. This is our one, 486,000. So that's an extra 20% in terms of pricing. Across the road was 500. Which was very interesting, probably a little bit neater and tidier, had a renovated bathroom and inside. So you go, okay, corner block, 416, 445. for this one here. 430 for this one here. 450 for this one here. So on 360 for this one here, it looks like that might be 11B, tells me that that could be part of something else, but maybe not. But automatically, I go to the next street, 410. Near around about 440. So for me, I mean, a buyer's agent somewhere out there in the world has probably posted how good of a deal that is for their client. But as you can see in the last 12 months, 2, 4, 6, there's probably 10 comps even on that street that were 10, 20% cheaper. And that's not by any means a renovated property. I mean, I remember the kitchen, bathrooms, you can see by the bathroom, shocking. Kitchen was nothing, like it wasn't nothing special, and it had the major structural cracks. So that's my whole issue, is that, like, and this is why I'm a massive advocate for trying to educate people, is because once you know what you're looking at, you can call out the BS. You can call out people like this. I picked that up on Google Maps. I picked that up from a desktop search. I didn't do any building and pest. I said, that looks like it has structural damage. The building and pest that someone else did confirmed that. And the property is 10 to 20% more expensive. So some buyer's agent has come in there, paid an absolute premium for something that's also going to require work. And I had this conversation with someone on the Instagram DMs today, actually, about something wrong with the current property they're looking at. And I always say, look for money can solve issues. So in this case, that is a money can solve issue, a structural fault in the chimney. However, what you must understand is that you need to get that at a price where it makes sense. 10 or 20% above market price, direct comparison of recently sold houses on the exact same street, on the exact same side of the street too, exact same side of the street, that are 10 to 20% cheaper. If I'm buying that with major structural cracks, that's a good deal if it's in the high 3s or maybe at 4. But to be paying an absolute premium for it is an example how buyer's agents will post about this and go, oh, under market value, instant equity, blah, blah, blah. Mate, I've paid you 25 grand to fetch me that deal, and then you've overpaid by $40, $50, $60, $80,000. So if you're out there using buyer's agents, just know it's going to cost you not only their fee, but shit like this, where they come in, they don't even look at the property, or if they do, even if they did realize that there was those structural cracks, why would they pay premium for it? I got no idea. It confuses the absolute hell out of me. But if you're watching my videos, hopefully you can pick up and learn some stuff so you don't too make the same mistake of buying deals like this or using buyer's agents that are that shit. Anyway, I just wanted to do a video to make that clear so everyone sort of learned that lesson. So everybody has learnt that lesson, and goes to show that there's always a buyer's agent out there willing to pay an absolute premium for a deal that is definitely not worth that sort of money. Protect yourselves, guys, and as usual, I'll see you tomorrow.